Welcome in, everybody, to this deep dive into On Purpose by Tanya Dalton. Um, are you ready to explore crafting a life that feels truly aligned with, like, who you are at your core?
Hmm. I'm excited to dig in.
Me too. We're going to be pulling directly from excerpts of the book itself, so it's like she's talking directly to us. Get ready for some really thought-provoking concepts, like how our brains even perceive our future selves, the impact of the words we choose on how we see ourselves, our identity, and even the surprising benefits of an underdog mentality.
It's so refreshing to find a book on this topic that goes beyond just like abstract theory. On Purpose is filled with actionable advice and relatable stories, and that makes these concepts much more tangible and things we can really use.
It really does feel like Tanya's sitting right here with us. One story that really grabbed me was Tanya's anecdote about getting a clean bill of health, but being urged by her doctor to examine her lifestyle. It seems like we often reach for a quick fix instead of addressing the root of our discontent. What do you think about that? Does that resonate with people's experiences?
Absolutely. I think it's human nature to seek easy solutions. It's far simpler to blame external circumstances than to acknowledge our own choices and the power we possess to change them.
So Tanya challenges us to choose our choices. She uses this fascinating example of contagious yawns to show how our brains often decide without our conscious awareness.
Right, it's a powerful illustration of how our subconscious mind operates. Even just reading about yawning can trigger the urge.
It can. It really can.
So if our brains are making choices on autopilot, how can we break free from patterns that no longer serve us?
Well, Tanya delves into that in the book. She explains how our brains rely on patterns to predict what's coming next, often keeping us stuck in cycles of past mistakes and fears.
Think about some of those unexpected plot twists that take us by surprise. Like when Joe Murch in Little Women refuses Laurie's proposal, or Darth Vader's redemption in Star Wars. These breaks in patterns kind of shock us because they defy our expectations. Recognizing those negative patterns is powerful because it shows us what we don't want and clarifies what we do want.
It's like clearing out the clutter to make space for something new. Kanya shares a great story about Mayoshi Boykin Anderson. After losing her job, instead of dwelling on the negative, she focused on her 63 clients. She changed her mindset, used her past experience, and built a successful company from the ground up. It's so inspiring, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Mayushia's story beautifully demonstrates how reframing setbacks can unveil hidden opportunities. She refused to let her past define her future and instead used it as fuel for her success.
It's a fantastic reminder that we can choose how we respond to challenges. Speaking of defining ourselves, Tanya explores the concept of shaping our identity. It all begins with the question, who are you? It's not as straightforward as it seems, is it?
Not at all. The words we habitually use to describe ourselves influence our self-perception and ultimately our actions. There's this fascinating study about nuns where their choice of words correlated with their lifespans. Those who utilized more positive language lived almost a decade longer.
Wow, that's incredible. It really makes you think about the power of our internal dialogue. It's almost like speaking our desired reality into existence, right?
Precisely. Tanya brings up Madam C.J. Walker, who decided to be addressed as Madam, not Mrs. It was a deliberate act to elevate her identity and break societal norms.
It's amazing how a simple word can hold so much power. She claimed her desired identity, and in doing so, defied expectations.
But envisioning a positive future, that can be challenging though, right?
It definitely can be. Tanya talks about having a phone call with her husband that sparked her own cathedral thinking, this ambitious dream of building a business so her husband could leave his corporate job.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this cathedral thinking.
It's a mindset inspired by those magnificent cathedrals of Europe. The architects of those structures knew they wouldn't live to see their completion,
Oh, wow.
but they were driven by a long-term vision that transcended their own lifetimes.
It's about setting huge goals and taking action, even if those goals take years or even decades to achieve. Exactly. Take the Duomo di Firenze, for instance. It took over 600 years to build. But cathedral thinking isn't confined to physical structures, though. It applies to social movements, scientific discoveries, or even our personal legacies.
I love how that expands our concept of purpose beyond immediate goals. It encourages us to contemplate our own unique contributions to the world.
Right. It's a powerful shift in perspective. It helps us see ourselves as part of a larger narrative, working towards something that will outlast our individual lives.
So we've talked about making choices, breaking free from patterns, and shaping our identity, and even thinking about the legacy we want to leave behind. But what about shiny object syndrome? How do we deal with that?
Well, it's definitely a common struggle. We live in a world of endless possibilities, so it's tempting to chase every exciting opportunity that comes our way.
It's like being in a grocery store, completely forgetting what you went for, and you end up with a cart full of impulse buys.
A perfect analogy. Tanya provides a helpful tool to navigate this challenge, the multi-passionate PIE activity.
Okay, so tell me more about this PIE.
It stands for Powers, Impact, and Excitement. This framework helps us discover our true strengths and passions and prioritize where we focus our energy.
So it's like finding that sweet spot where our abilities, values, and passions all intersect. This could be incredibly helpful for anyone feeling pulled in multiple directions. But even with newfound clarity, making a plan can be pretty daunting.
Oh, for sure. And Tanya addresses this head-on with the story of Noelle, a stylist with a clear purpose, but who struggled with formulating a plan to reach it. Many people experience that overwhelm when faced with the magnitude of their goals.
Right, it's one thing to have a vision, but it's quite another to map out a route to actually get there.
For sure. Tanya introduces a helpful framework for breaking down that journey: potential, possible, practical. She uses the analogy of a road trip from San Francisco to Orlando. You need a map, not just a destination.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Hmm.
It highlights the importance of planning and recognizing that every journey requires a roadmap.
She encourages us to consider what feels practical for us in the next 12 to 18 months to establish concrete starting points.
Breaking those big dreams down into manageable steps. It's such a critical part of the process.
Speaking of crucial steps, let's touch on the importance of investing in ourselves. It's something we often neglect, particularly women.
I think many people struggle with this. We prioritize others' needs over our own, convincing ourselves we lack the time or that it's selfish.
Tanya challenges this notion with a thought-provoking question. Would you deny your loved ones the opportunity to invest in their growth?
Of course not. We want those we care about to thrive.
Exactly. She shares the inspiring story of Marshawn Evans Daniels, who walked away from a wedding after uncovering her fiancé's infidelity. Marshawn later understood that investing in herself had been the best decision she could have made.
Wow, that must have taken incredible courage.
It was an act of strength and self-respect. It beautifully reframes self-investment as essential, not selfish. We deserve to prioritize our own development and well-being.
This has been an insightful conversation so far. I'm already feeling inspired to take action and start creating a life that feels more aligned with my true purpose.
It's encouraging to see how these concepts resonate with you. It's a reminder that we all have the power within us to shape our own destinies.
But we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to unpack and on purpose. So let's dive back in and explore some more of Tanya's insights.
So let's dive into how we manage our time, right? It's something we all wrestle with, this feeling of never having enough hours in the day.
The age-old struggle, I know. I'm always searching for that elusive, like, extra hour. Where can I get one of those?
Right. Tanya dedicates an entire chapter to this in the book, and she emphasizes that we can't control time itself, only our activities within the time we have. And she outlines 4 distinct ways we spend our time: resting, doing, distracting, and thinking.
Okay, let's break those down a little bit. Starting with resting. I bet some people are thinking, rest? Who has time for that?
It's so true, but Tanya argues that rest is actually essential for productivity and well-being. We can't pour from an empty cup.
No, we can't. It's like attempting to drive a car with no fuel in the tank. Eventually, you're going to come to a standstill.
Exactly. And rest isn't just about sleep either. It's about creating space for activities that rejuvenate us.
Okay, so finding activities that replenish our energy, like taking a walk in nature, reading a good book, or just connecting with loved ones.
Right. Now let's move on to doing, which is where a lot of people get caught up in the hustle and bustle, that pressure to constantly be in motion to kind of prove their worth.
That feeling of being tethered to an endless to-do list.
Tanya cautions against equating activity with accomplishment. Sometimes it's necessary to just step back and assess whether our actions are truly aligned with our goals.
It's about quality over quantity, making sure our efforts are moving us in the right direction.
Right. And then there's distracting, the realm of social media, email, and everything else competing for our attention.
Yeah, those digital rabbit holes can easily steal hours from our day.
They can. And Tanya reminds us that distractions aren't inherently harmful, but they become detrimental when they hinder us from focusing on what truly matters.
So it's about finding a balance, establishing boundaries, and creating strategies to minimize distractions.
And finally, we have thinking, which may appear passive, but Tanya argues that it's vital for clarity and creativity.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving ourselves the mental space to process information, brainstorm, and forge connections.
Exactly. She suggests even carving out dedicated time for thinking, even just a few minutes each day.
I love that. Like, schedule a meeting with yourself, a time to detach from doing and just let your mind kind of explore.
And Tanya also introduces this idea of siloing stress, a method for managing the anxieties that inevitably arise.
Tell me more about this siloing stress. What does that involve?
It's about designating specific times to address those concerns, preventing them from consuming our entire day.
Like creating designated containers for our worries, knowing we'll have time to address them later, granting ourselves permission to worry later.
Right. And Tanya illustrates this with a story about her experience managing her son's college applications.
Okay, very relatable. Well, shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about balance. It's this concept that's often touted as like the key to a fulfilling life.
Hmm.
The constant juggling act of work, family, personal growth, and everything else.
Right. But Tanya actually challenges this notion. She argues that true fulfillment stems not from balance, but from harmony.
What's the distinction between those two things?
Balance suggests an equal division of time and energy across every aspect of life, which is, let's be honest, pretty unrealistic and unsustainable.
Yeah. It's like trying to juggle a dozen balls at once. Some are bound to drop.
Right. Harmony acknowledges that different phases of life demand varying levels of attention.
So certain areas might take precedence while others kind of recede, as long as we're consciously making those choices.
Exactly. Tanya introduces the goal-setting matrix as a tool for visualizing this. It's basically mapping out our goals and priorities throughout the year and revealing which areas require more focus at specific times.
It relieves that pressure of seeking perfect balance and allows us to embrace life's natural ebb and flow.
Yes, and Tanya emphasizes mindfulness in the book. That means being present instead of dwelling on the past or fretting about the future.
Right, it's about savoring the journey, not just fixating on the destination.
She suggests practicing mindfulness through engaging our senses, cultivating gratitude, and pursuing activities that spark joy.
That's especially crucial in today's fast-paced world where it's easy to get swept away by the whirlwind of activity and forget to simply be.
Absolutely. Slowing down, taking a deep breath, and appreciating the beauty of the present moment.
Okay. Tanya also talks about habit stacking, a technique for building new habits by linking them to existing routines.
Yes. So instead of attempting to establish an entirely new behavior, we leverage something we already do consistently.
So for instance, if checking your phone is the first thing you do every morning, you could stack a new habit, like reading for 10 minutes, onto that existing routine.
Exactly, utilizing existing behaviors as a springboard for new ones. And Tanya highlights that even seemingly insignificant habits can have a really significant impact over time.
It's about those small, consistent actions, right? The power of consistency.
Absolutely. And Tanya also stresses the importance of regular self-assessment, like periodically evaluating if our actions are still aligned with our goals and values.
It's stepping back to see if we're still on the right track, asking ourselves what's working, what needs adjusting, and what new habits we want to develop.
Right, it's about honesty, recognizing our successes and areas for growth.
And Tanya reminds us that adjustments aren't failures. They're actually opportunities for redirection. Life throws us curveballs. Flexibility and adaptability are essential. She shares Tasca Sanford's story. She is an entrepreneur who had to adjust her business plans when her mother became ill.
Right. Life's unexpected twists and turns often demand that we pivot and adapt.
Okay, let's discuss overcoming fear, a powerful force that often hinders us from pursuing our aspirations.
Of course, Tanya acknowledges this, but she emphasizes that fear doesn't have to be an adversary. It can signal that we're on the right track, pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones.
So fear can be a catalyst for growth, a sign that we're challenging ourselves.
Exactly. And Tanya offers strategies for managing fear, such as reframing it as excitement, deconstructing daunting tasks, and seeking support from others.
Reframing fear as excitement, that's a subtle shift in perspective that can make all the difference. Viewing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats.
Right. And Tanya encourages embracing the unknown, acknowledging that we don't have all the answers. It's okay not to know everything. It's fine to be a learner. She shares this great story about learning to drive in Scotland, where learners display L plates on their cars.
It's like giving everyone permission to make mistakes and learn without shame. It's quite liberating, actually.
It really is, and Tanya dives into common fears, Fear of failure, judgment, not being good enough. These anxieties resonate with so many people.
Oh, they do. And those fears can be incredibly paralyzing.
They can. But she offers some antidotes, like focusing on effort instead of outcomes, remembering everyone makes mistakes, and defining success on our terms. Failure is a part of the process, not the opposite of success.
Right. It's through those setbacks and challenges that we truly learn and grow.
Exactly. And Tanya urges us to be courageous, take risks, and step beyond our comfort zones.
She reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear, but action despite it.
Right. She even shares a personal story about confronting a significant fear, sharing a deeply personal and painful experience with the world. Even the most successful individuals grapple with fears.
Vulnerability can be an incredible source of strength.
It truly can. So as we near the end of our deep dive into On Purpose, let's revisit the essence of living on purpose. What does it truly mean to live with intention?
What resonates with you is like the core message of the book.
It's not about achieving a specific outcome or reaching a predetermined destination. It's about aligning our choices with our values, aspirations, and unique gifts.
It's about making those conscious choices that reflect who we are and what we believe in.
Exactly. And Tanya perfectly captures this with a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson. He said, "You belong to something bigger than your daily routine."
Wow, that's a powerful reminder that we are part of something grander, interconnected, and each have a unique role to play.
We do. Tanya encourages us to embrace our potential, step into our greatness, and positively impact the world.
This has been such an inspiring and thought-provoking discussion. I feel like I've gained so many valuable insights into what it means to live on purpose.
It's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you.
Before we wrap up, why don't we distill Tanya's key takeaways into like a concise 10-point summary for our listeners?
I think that's a great idea. It'll give them a framework to reflect upon and apply these principles to their own lives.
All right, so starting with number 1, choose your choices. Become aware of the decisions your brain is making automatically and actively choose the paths that align with your aspirations.
Number 2, break free from patterns. Recognize and challenge those negative patterns that are holding you back, and embrace the unexpected twists and turns that life throws your way.
Number 3, shape your identity. The words you use to define yourself have power. Choose words that empower and uplift you, and watch your self-perception transform.
Number 4, embrace cathedral thinking. Set goals that transcend your lifespan, contribute to something larger than yourself, and leave a lasting legacy.
Number 5, navigate shiny object syndrome. Use the multi-passionate PIE activity to identify your true strengths and passions and prioritize where you focus your energy.
Number 6, make a plan. Break down your goals into manageable steps using the potential possible practical framework, creating a roadmap for your journey.
Number 7, invest in yourself. Prioritize your growth and well-being. Remember, it's not selfish, it's essential for living a fulfilling life.
Number 8, manage your time with intention. Understand how you spend your time resting, doing, distracting, thinking, and make conscious choices that align with your goals.
Number 9, overcome fear. Reframe fear as excitement. Break down daunting tasks. Seek support. And remember that courage is action despite fear.
And finally, number 10, live in harmony. Embrace the ebb and flow of life, recognizing that different seasons require different priorities. Strive for harmony, not perfect balance.
Wow, those 10 points are like a great roadmap for anyone seeking to live with more intention. It's amazing how Tanya weaves those practical strategies with such compelling personal stories.
Her vulnerability really connects with the reader. One story that deeply moved me was Tanya's personal account of navigating profound loss.
Oh, you're referring to her experience with losing a child. I found that chapter to be both heartbreaking and inspiring.
It's such a powerful chapter. She eloquently articulates the raw emotions of grief. Anger, sadness, the overwhelming feeling of being consumed by sorrow. It's a testament to her strength and willingness to share such a personal experience.
Absolutely. What struck me most was the realization that emerged from that darkness, that like the power of choice. Even amidst such devastation, she had the ability to choose how she would respond.
Right. She recognized that she could either succumb to the pain or actively seek meaning and purpose in the midst of it all. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, isn't it?
It really is. She found solace in her faith, her loved ones, and the understanding that her purpose extended beyond her pain. It's a powerful reminder that purpose can rise from those most unexpected places.
It can. Tanya's story underscores that life is filled with unforeseen events, both joyful and sorrowful. Plans may falter, hearts may break, but we retain the power to choose our responses.
We can allow those experiences to define us, or we can choose to find meaning amidst the chaos. I mean, that's the essence of living on purpose, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's about embracing the entirety of the journey, the highs and the lows, the triumphs and the setbacks, and continuously making choices aligned with our values.
It's a constant evolution, not a fixed destination. It's recognizing that we each possess a unique contribution to offer the world.
Well said. This deep dive has been such a wonderful exploration of purpose. It's been filled with insightful strategies, compelling stories, and some really powerful mindset shifts.
We've learned that purpose is a dynamic journey, not a static endpoint. It's about making conscious choices, embracing challenges, and finding meaning throughout every stage.
We've drawn inspiration from individuals who've navigated life's complexities with intention and grace. Their stories remind us that we're not alone on this path.
We've uncovered practical tools and frameworks to help us clarify our purpose and take tangible steps towards living it.
So as we conclude, we want to encourage you to carry these insights forward. Embrace the power of choice, cultivate that cathedral thinking mindset, invest in yourselves, and manage your time intentionally.
Remember to overcome your fears, strive for harmony in your life, and most importantly, remember that you are capable of creating a life rich with purpose, meaning, and impact.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope it inspires you to live your life on purpose.
Thanks for listening, everybody.